The infinitive is one of the most pure forms of a verb. As its name suggests, an infinitive is different from a regular or finite verb because it doesn't have a subject and doesn't change its ending because of this. That said, infinitives do come in different tenses and voices, and that will be the subject of this video. What are the different forms of the infinitive, and how is the infinitive used, on a very basic level? The Latin infinitive is used in a bunch of different ways, and just an FYI, I'm going to use examples here with the present active infinitive, the one that ends in "-re", and is translated with just "to". The infinitive can be the subject of the verb, like in the famous phrase, errare est humanum. To err is human. Errare is the subject of est. We also see infinitives as objects of verbs. Femina iubet filium exire. The woman orders her son to leave. Filium is the accusative object of iubet. It answers the question, whom does the woman order, her son? But the infinitive exire is also the object of iubet. It answers the question of what does the woman order, to leave. An infinitive can be the complement of another verb. That is, it completes the meaning. You'll find this use with verbs like possum, volo, nolo, malo, and paro. So filius exire potest, the son is able to leave. Femina errare noluit, the woman did not want to make mistake. With these verbs, you can't complete the meaning of the sentence without the infinitive. That's why we call it a complementary infinitive. Finally, Latin uses the infinitive in indirect statements. So a phrase like the woman says that her son is leaving involves an indirect statement. Her son is leaving is a statement that is being relayed indirectly. In Latin, we have the main part of the sentence, the woman says, in the indicative, but the subject of the indirect statement, her son, is put into the accusative case, filium, and the verb of the indirect statement, is leaving, is rendered as an infinitive, exire. It looks like this is translated, the woman says her son to leave, but that's not how we do indirect statements in English. Keep in mind, though, this is a pretty simplistic description of the different uses of the infinitive, especially indirect statement. Okay, with that basic overview, let's get on to the different forms of the infinitive. We can organize our infinitives into different tenses and voices, and this chart should be familiar if you studied participles. It's the same structure of time periods on the left, present, perfect, and future, and voice along the top, active and passive. With active infinitives, the action is being done. With passive infinitives, the action is being received. And just like with participles, these time periods on the left are relative. Present stands for same time, perfect for completed time or time before, and future for time after. So officially, we have 6 different possibilities for the infinitive, formed by the combination of tense and voice. Let's begin with the present active infinitive here. This is simple. It's the verb's second principal part by definition. Most of these will end in an re, and they will vary by the vowel before that, and it's this vowel that helps us group our verbs into conjugations. First conjugation verbs end in a long are, like laudo, laudare. Second's a long ere, moneo, monere. Third's a short ere, duco, ducere. And fourth's a long ire, audio, audire. This vowel is the thematic vowel for each verb group, and this variation is indicative of the differences in conjugations between each verb. And we translate present active infinitives with the standard to plus the meaning of the verb. To praise, to warn, to lead, to hear. There are also verbs that have a present active infinitive which doesn't end in an re, array, and you could call these irregular, like sum esse or possum, posse, volo, velle, etc. In all of these, though, the second principal part is the present active infinitive, despite what it looks like. Esse, to be, posse, to be able, velle, to want. Moving to the right, the present passive infinitive is a slight variation on the active form. Instead of ending with a short e, we're going to end with a long I. For first, second, and fourth conjugation verbs, this long I is placed after the r, so we have laudari, moneri, and audiri. Third conjugation verbs replace the full ere ending with the long I, duki. Since this is present passive, we translate this with to be, and then the past participle. So to be praised, to be warned, to be led, to be heard. There aren't any irregular verbs in this form, simply because our irregular verbs like esse to be, posse to be able, or welle to want don't have passive forms. Quick side note on this. Old archaic Latin and some poets end the present passive infinitive with an ier. This originally started with third conjugation verbs, so defendier, to be defended, but was applied to other conjugations whenever the poetic line needed it. The poet Horace uses laudarier, for to be praised. Perhaps this was adopted for some verbs because the long I ending can give a form identical to the perfect first-person singular. Verti can be both I turned or to be turned. So be careful with third conjugation verbs and the present passive infinitive. The perfect active infinitive comes from the third principal part. This is the active perfect stem. We drop off the long I and replace it with an isse. And since the perfect tense has regular rules for all verbs, the variations between verbs are reflected in the different third principal parts. This is a pretty standard form. Laudavisse, monuisse, duxisse, audivisse. It's a perfect tense, so we use the helping word have in our translation. To have praised, to have warned, to have led, to have heard. Likewise, for the perfect passive infinitive, we use the fourth principal part. This is commonly the perfect passive participle, or the accusative supine, which looks identical to the participle if it exists. And well, we take this participle and make it an infinitive by adding the verb esse. Laudatus aum esse is literally to be having been praised, which is a little too wordy in English, so we can shorten this to have been praised. The inclusion of the word ben moves us from the active to the passive voice. Monetus aum esse, to have been warned, doctus aum esse, to have been led, auditus aum esse, to have been heard. And note that this infinitive has gender and number, so if this is being used in indirect statement, the gender and number of the accusative subject will be reflected in the ending of the participle part. Dico verba audita esse. I say that words have been heard. Audita is neuter accusative plural because it agrees with the neuter accusative plural verba. The future active infinitive is similar to the perfect passive. We take the future active participle, the verb's fourth principal part, but with a UR inserted before the ending, and add, an optional esse. You really only see this infinitive in indirect statement, so keep in mind that the ending changes based on the case, number, and gender of the subject, much like the perfect passive participle. Laudaturus aum esse, to be going to praise. Moniturus aum esse, to be going to warn. Docturus aum esse, to be going to lead. And auditurus aum esse, to be going to hear. But keep in mind that you'll often see this without the esse. Sometimes, too, you'll see the form fore as the future active infinitive to sum, to be, instead of futurus esse. Both fore and futurus esse are to be going to be. Finally, we have this one, the future passive infinitive. Most Latin textbooks don't spend much time introducing this, saying that it's not very common, or as I like to say, too rare to care. Technically, it's the accusative supine, so the fourth principal part, ending in with the present passive infinitive of eo ire, so iri, laudatum iri, to be going, to be praised. I could do the others, but it is too rare to care, except in Cicero. Yeah, Cicero. So here's the full chart for infinitives again. A quick summary. The present active ends in re for the most part, and the present passive in a long e. This is the tough one because it looks similar to a whole lot of forms, and in my experience, it's the most overlooked infinitive form. The perfect active ends in isse, the perfect passive is the perfect passive participle plus esse, and likewise the future active, the participle plus an optional esse. The future passive is too rare to care unless you're reading loads of Cicero. And I did that once. Okay, so there we go. The infinitive in short.